The Burning Page. It's no secret that this has been one of my favorite series I've read in recent memory, and finally being able to catch up to the third in the series now is something that I looked forward to for a long time. So how did it turn out? Well, that's what I'm here to discuss. This is The Burning Page by Genevieve Cogman. Don't go away. So being the third book in the series, what happened in the last? Well, in the second book, The Masked City, it was quite literally like the end of a Michael Bay movie, except it was like that for 75% of the book. Like, seriously, there was so much action in that book, I couldn't believe it. I literally felt like there was like 4 great endings that happened, but it wasn't the actual ending because there was more to have, and I almost gave that a masterpiece rank. So how could you follow that up in The Burning Page? Well, first off, I gotta say, the covers for this series, I'm literally like, the covers are so gorgeous for this series. We quickly find out that one of my favorite characters in the last book makes a quick return in The Burning Page, Ziana. She was found in the Chaos realm, or whatever the fucking realm they were in last time. She's been brought back here now. She was a great character. I'm glad she's back in. One of my biggest thoughts going into the third Invisible Library novel was, who's going to be the enemy this time? Last book, we had Irene's assistant, Kai, who's also a dragon, get abducted. In the book before that, we had Alberic, the crazy psycho library assassin dude, come in. So what's it going to be this time? Well, quickly, we realized that Alberic skipped book number 2 so he can come back stronger in book 3. Alberic pretty much sends a message out to all of the librarians pretty much everywhere, and if you're not familiar with this series, the librarian is not the typical librarian you're thinking of. In this novel fantasy world, librarians pretty much can travel between worlds, and they can use this language, the librarian language, to manipulate objects. It's a really interesting idea. But Alberic is back, and he is threatening to destroy the library. So yeah, that's what we're dealing with. After the main protagonist, Irene, gets the debriefing from the library superiors, she ends up going home and getting captured by werewolves. You might think, oh, this is weird. Like, what a weird concept, captured by werewolves. I'm telling you, this series is so crazy up and down, you wouldn't even believe half the shit. She ends up easily deconstructing the werewolves by turning them back to their human forms, which is a pretty huge embarrassment on the werewolves' part. But after she finally gets out of there, she goes back to Vale's house in the current, I don't know, realm or sector, I don't know what you'd call it, she's currently in or residing in. One of the main characters that we know of is Vale, and one of the biggest problems that he's dealing with right now is that he went with Irene to rescue Kai in the last book. The problem with that is that he's human, and he went to a high chaos world, so he's pretty much contaminated. And in order to nurture that, Vale likes to, quote unquote, from an actual quote from the book, likes to hit that morphine. So Vale really doesn't play a huge role in this book, which is not the coolest. I think he's one of my favorite characters in the series as a whole, but I understand why he did take a big sideline considering on the path that we're about to go on. So Irene and Kai are sent to a world to gather a book. That's pretty much what a librarian's job is to gather books, specific books. Like, there could be 1,000 books and 999 of them have the same ending, but let's say in one of the books, oh, Johnny actually lives and kills Johnny Jr. or whatever, I don't care. That makes the book special and unique, and that is their job to retrieve it. And when they get to this realm, it's a pretty neutral realm. It's set in Russia, and it's kind of hilarious stereotypically because the things or the people or the animals guarding the door to the Empress's castle or whatever are bears. Literal bears. And not just like normal bears. These bears can sniff out magic. So that's kind of crazy. But straight to the core of this apple, you find yourself Irene and Kai going to get the book, which they have now figured out has been rented out to the Queen of Russia herself. So they dress up, they go to this ballroom, and there they see the Queen. There's the book, but also Alberic is there. Somehow, some way, he has found a way to get there. And they're thinking, you know, like, how did he find us here? Like, there's a million realms. How did he find us here? Someone must have told them there's got to be a spy amongst us. So this is actually a frustrating part of the book for me. Part of it is my personal bias, but part of it is the fact that I was frustrated with the main character overlooking some other characters. Because they think back, well, the only people that knew about this mission were the library superiors and the people in the room that were discussing it with them, which happened to be Kai, the assistant dragon, obviously wouldn't be him. You got Vale, the guy who's hitting the morphine. You got Ziana, the character from the last book. And you also have Vale's assistant, like Sing, or whatever his name is pronounced. I honestly don't know. And you also got Li Ming, who is a representative of the dragon family. And they're like, okay, could it be Li Ming? Could it be Ziana? It's definitely not Vale. It's definitely not Kai. I mean, and they eventually narrow in on Ziana. And that was like, okay, well, first off, am I biased because in the book Ziana is described as the most beautiful person alive? Possibly biased here. Could let a little few negatives slip. But they also never look at Vale's assistant. Ever! Not one time did they ever say, oh, it could be his assistant. He was there too. Not once did Irene say anything about it. Not once was it ever suggested. And I thought, that's so annoying. Like, come on. So this whole time I'm thinking, well, there's no way it's Ziana. They can't just say, oh, it's probably Ziana and it will end up being Ziana. It's got to be some sort of a flip-flop. There's going to be a twist. There's going to be a button hook somewhere. Some sort of blind side. And they're like, okay, well, let's track Ziana. They tracked her to a pet store because of the fact that they got ambushed a few times going in and outside of library doors. There was like crazy spiders and like pretty much murder hornets on their ass, like giving them fucking ass stings. They ended up tracking Ziana back to a pet store, which she wasn't there, but they tracked her again back to her house. And there it's revealed that, yes, Ziana did try and kill Irene. And that really isn't a bad way to tell a story. Like, I'm not trying to rewrite what the author wanted, but personally, it's just, it was almost so obvious that I looked past it. I'm like, okay, well, there's no way. There's no way. It's like, when something is so obvious, you don't even have to think about it. Like breathing. I'm talking right now. I'm not even thinking about breathing, but it's there, obviously. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be talking right now. But it just was a little too clean. It was too straightforward. But in this room, it's Irene and Ziana, and they're talking things out. It's very high tension at this point, and they're pretty much friendly banter because they are friends. And I even believe there was some romantic interest on the part of Irene. But Ziana's like, yo, guess what? I got all these crazy dangerous animals in the room, and I have the switch underneath my foot. So if you try and kill me in any way or use the language, I will pop off like no other. Long story short, Irene ends up trying to go for an opening that just wasn't there. Shit goes wild. Ends up Kai and Vale come in. They help take the animals off and all this shit. People have been stung and bit. But she's trying to get info out of Ziana because at this point, she gets the info from Vale that is Albert's been trying to recruit people. He's been trying to recruit people to take the library because he doesn't think he can do it by himself. So while this scuffle is going on, Ziana's like, oh yeah, go away. And Irene's like, tell me what is Albert's plan. Like, I don't have to kill you, Ziana. I like you, Ziana. I don't have to kill you. And on the back of her neck is a branding from Albrecht that says something along the lines of, I can't tell secrets, or if she tries to spill the beans, she will be dead. That's like literally like a kindergarten way to explain it. The only way that Irene found a way to get around this was to rebrand it. So she pretty much burns her own trademark over that. So that was a crazy scene. After this, it goes a little too quick because the book is just under 400 pages. And at this point, there was only like 50 pages left. I'm like, well, wow, there's not a lot of time here. So immediately they go, okay, Ziana can take me to Albert's realm. She can only take one person, apparently. There's a question of trust or whatnot, because she's like, I can only take one person. You know, could this be an ambush? She could just take Irene to Albrecht herself and say, here you go, kill her. And after a much discussion of arguments and disapprovals from Kai and Vale and Li Ming and all the people who are there, Irene says, hey, let's go, me and you, Ziana. So they go to Albert's realm. It's a very, very weird realm. Like, nothing is physical, nothing is solid. It's all shadows and stuff. And honestly, complete nostalgia, because if you've watched Sinbad Legend of the Seven Seas, throwback to this amazing literal masterpiece in my opinion, in Tartarus, Eris's realm, it is such a weird hypnotic realm. This is like, my imagination was just straight to Tartarus. Like the sand is like an ocean and everything doesn't make sense, but it was so cool to imagine this realm. But at the same time, I was frustrated because she's like, oh yeah, there's no time to do this. And I think so at one point Albrecht says you got until midnight until the library is destroyed. I'm not sure, that could have been the biggest bluff of his life. But the fact that Irene and Ziana go alone is without anointing anyone is incredibly dumb and stupid of a decision for a character. She has a million librarians who are way better and way higher skill than her that she could anoint or tell about. But nope, I'll just go do it myself, which is exactly the problem that she got into last time, because she's like, oh, Kai got kidnapped, I could get in trouble if I go rescue him. So I'm going to go underneath the rules and just do it myself, which she ended up going on probation for. So she has a tendency to break the rules to a complete flaw of stupidity. Along the way, Ziana reveals Albrecht's plan of when you collect books from other realms, you have a connection there. And Albrecht's plan is to get a bigger connection to other realms than what the library has. Pretty much like Slither.io. That game where you like go around and you like eat other snakes. He wants to be the bigger snake and eat the library. That's the best way I could describe it. So while they try and get there and open a door to the library, you need a bookcase or some library books to open up the door. That is how the series works. That's the logic in this series. She realizes that these books are fake and they don't even have a language, like they're not even English or anything, and it's a complete trap and they're all gonna die. So they run for their lives trying to get to the main core of the library, because if he's stealing books, there has to be books somewhere. It's got to be the main core. I thought of this as a rat race in a mouse maze, honestly. There's so many up and down corridors. There's like multiple floors. Rooms don't make sense. Albrecht is on her ass like a shadow. And there's a really cool aspect here that I thought was really cool to add in, just to have like the inanimate object of Albrecht, because he's sort of human, but he's sort of just like a ball of chaos that can walk and talk. Anything he touches in that realm turned to mold. Like, he grabbed Irene's hoodie or shirt at that point, and she quickly took it off and it like turned to mold. So that was kind of cool. But at one point, the insane save of a life, a bookcase goes to fall on Irene, and Ziana's like, oh no, my knight in shining armor, pushes her out of the way and gets crunched underneath this bookcase, dying. Now that sucks, because she was a good character. She was a good person in the first book. Then she did try and kill Irene a few times. She's the reason why she got captured by werewolves. And then she flipped an Albrecht again. So where does her true loyalties lie? Nobody really knows, but she ends up dying in the end anyways. So now we find ourselves on literally the last like 10 pages of the book. Quite literally. I don't know how they're going to fit all this in. It's Irene versus Albrecht. They're going back and forth. Albrecht gets the upper hand. Because he can also use the language. He gets metal bars to bend her on her leg and keep her still. And at this point, Irene says, books in the room go on fire. And this is such a smart move, because this is the connection he has to other worlds. They light up on fire. There's like holes going in the realm everywhere. It's crazy. He's trying to put the fire out. There's too much fire. Even the language can't put the fire out. He's distracted. She gets out of the metal. And at this point, I realized, wait a minute, the burning page. And I had like that epiphany moment where in similar to Bioshock Infinite, if you play that game, Bioshock 1, Bioshock 2, okay, normal names, Bioshock Infinite. Shouldn't it be Bioshock 3? No, because once you finish the game, there's that scene where it says just like Bioshock, and then it gets super windy and it rips off and it's infinite, and you know what that stands for Infinite Worlds. And it's like that moment where you realize, oh, the title matches up. And that's something that's very underrated in any form of entertainment, in my opinion. The actual world starts burning, and at some point, I don't know how they got there, but Kai shows up in his dragon form with Vale, and they rescue Irene, and they end up getting out of there, and that's the end. Like literally, I could go, hold up, bro. They literally get out. They get out of the realm at 350. The book ends, the whole epilogue ends at 356. So from getting out of the realm of Chaos World to the complete ending of cleaning up everything and tying up loose ends is 6 pages. I can't help but feeling that I wanted a little more, but the good news is I could literally look at the next book in the series right on my shelf right over there. So that's pretty much it. Honestly, not as good as the last book, nor the book before that. I honestly think this is the weakest book in the Invisible Library series so far. Was it bad? Hell no. This was an awesome book. I loved the characters in it. There was really cool, interesting aspects where at one point when in the realm, Irene touches the floor and says, "Not Alberic," because she realizes that the entire realm is just made out of his chaos. And she locks him out of a specific area to save herself. There's the bugs that attack her out of a library door. There's the library door that lights up on fire when she tries to escape. The action in this series has been non-stop impressive, in my opinion, for a book to translate that from a TV screen to a book. I mean, action is such a visual stimulation that it's almost incredibly hard to put it into a book, and the Invisible Library has done it 3 books in a row. But the only downside is that I felt like the first half of the book is a little slow. I felt that reusing Alberic as an enemy is something that I think could have been saved instead of just skipping one book and then just doing it the first and the third. I think the fact that Ziana was a bad guy is something that I'm not a fan of, although it makes sense being who she is. I just personally don't think that's how I wanted to go. There were some things that were overlooked by the character Irene herself of who could have possibly betrayed her. And then you have characters like Bradamant, who showed appearances in book 1 and almost none in book 2, and then showed up a little bit in book 3, who I think could really be a great character. Bradamant is pretty much the evil, I wouldn't say evil, but her arch nemesis in the library, like friends who were friends but don't really like each other that much. I think she could have such potential if she's in another book, and that's what I'm hoping for book 4. But overall, if I had to put a number on this book, I would honestly give it a solid 3 out of 5. So that's it. The burning page is done, and in honor of how the ending went, I'm going to burn this book live on my Twitch channel. I'm just kidding. I'm going to put this on the shelf, and I can't wait till the next book, book 4. But for now, I'm your host, Planet Entertainment, and I hope you enjoy this review. Peace. Should I really be going into the door next to the giant bones? Wait, what the fuck was the point of that? It's odd. I mean, this isn't a different room. Heyo, if you've stuck around this far, you're probably here for the random Easter egg soundtrack I put in at the end of every video. While you listen, if you like, click the like button down below and subscribe if you want to see future content. Any support helps tremendously more than you'd ever believe. And if you're super dedicated, you can buy me a coffee, link in the description. Anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it, so hopefully you enjoyed the video, and yeah, peace.